India is not just Bollywood. Bollywood is only the Hindi language film industry. And as such, it is the third largest film industry in India.
Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Monday, July 21st, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. If it's Monday, we're talking box office with Rebecca Rubin. And today we'll hear from Naman Ramachandran in London on Bollywood's first big romantic comedy hit in years and how it's boosting the box office in India. And we'll hear from senior TV editor Brian Steinberg in New York on the fallout from the bombshell news that CBS will end The Late Show with Stephen Colbert next year. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Kevin Feige tells all. The Marvel chief is extremely candid about the company's recent struggles in a wide-ranging interview with Variety's Adam B. Vary and Angelique Jackson. Marvel has simply produced, quote, too much, end quote, content in recent years, Feige admits. He talks about Iron Man, X-Men, Blade, and other projects. We have a long Q&A and 2 sidebar stories on Variety.com right now. Tyler, the Creator, has just dropped a new album, Don't Tap the Glass. It's the rapper's 9th album release. And R.I.P. to actress Eileen Fulton. She starred in the CBS soap opera As the World Turns for 50 years. She's died at the age of 91. Now we turn to conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. If it's Monday, we're talking box office with Rebecca Rubin, our senior film and media reporter. She breaks down how Superman fared in week 2 and how the arrival of Smurfs and I Know What You Did Last Summer impacted the summer box office. Rebecca Rubin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, big second weekend for Superman. I gotta believe there is joy in Burbank because it seemed like the Man of Steel showed his mettle in weekend 2. How did you rate this film's second weekend?
The second weekend of Superman was definitely something to as people were curious how much ticket sales would drop. And it's been performing very middle of the road. Ticket sales in its second weekend dropped 54% from its opening, which is fairly standard. And it's a good sign that it didn't have this massive second weekend drop like The Flash, which was a 2023 DC movie that had this catastrophic 72% second weekend drop. But it also didn't have an incredible hold like Sinners, which is another Warner Brothers movie that dropped less than 5% in its second weekend, which is basically unheard of, and 27% in its third weekend, which shows really outsized interest. And so in the case of Superman, I think this second weekend shows that there is genuine interest in this movie. It's been well received, which is very important in terms of earning back the goodwill of DC fans. But it's really not this runaway, undeniable smash. So there's still this wait and see element about how much excitement there will be for the franchise without Superman as the marquee character. And I'm referring to 2 of these upcoming movies that they have for 2026, meaning Supergirl and Clayface. And so that really is kind of more important to them than just the box office. It's how much excitement it's generating in the culture.
Rebecca, there were 2 other big wide releases with very well-known properties, Smurfs and I Know What You Did Last Summer. How did those 2 movies perform?
Neither were embarrassing flops, anything on that scale, but they didn't exactly set the box office on fire. And it's kind of notable because they are both from recognizable properties. And I think maybe there's a lesson in there about brand awareness. Just because something is a sequel or a reboot doesn't necessarily mean people are going to feel compelled to go to the theaters to see it.
There was one other film that was an interesting test, a Western from A24.
Yes, the new Ari Aster film called Eddington opened to about $4 million. And what's interesting about Eddington is it earned a C+ grade on CinemaScore. And for basically any other film, that would really be a death sentence in terms of the rest of its theatrical run. But with Ari Aster's films, that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Do you think A24 takes this opening weekend number as a good sign?
It's sort of middle of the road. It's not a fantastic opening, but it's also not a complete wash.
Gotcha. Of course, another big movie coming for next weekend, the new iteration of Fantastic Four. On the theme of superhero movies and how the audience for them is changing, what are you tracking for Fantastic Four at this time?
What'll be interesting is how much appetite there is for superhero movies, because already Disney has put out 2 Marvel movies, Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts, and now Warner Brothers has put out a DC movie in Superman. And so this is the 4th comic book related movie within the first half of the year. And right now the expectation is that it's going to do very well in its opening weekend, and it's really going to represent a reset for Marvel, which I think they wanted to happen with Thunderbolts, and they got there in terms of reviews, but not quite with turnout. And so I think this will bridge the gap and bring moviegoers back in a significant way.
Just like on Superman, there will be a lot of eyes on the Marvel quartet next weekend. Thank you so much. Appreciate you always being our box office steward.
Thank you.
The news that CBS would give up on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert after next season set off an earthquake across the TV business. It's such a stark example of the industry's problems in more ways than one. Brian Steinberg is Variety's senior TV editor and a chronicler of late night for many years. He brings us up to speed on the fallout from this decision. Brian Steinberg, thank you for joining me. You have had a busy couple of days of reporting. This Stephen Colbert news was truly a bombshell on Thursday evening your time, and you did not stop working until after midnight that night. Now that the Colbert news has landed and people have had a little time to process, what are you hearing? What is this telling us about the marketplace, about late night, about network TV?
People are still shocked by this. And yes, there's still some debate over whether CBS canceled this because of his upcoming merger with Skydance and Stephen's tendency towards, anti-Trump humor, or just because, late night's not doing so great. But the fact of the matter is this show is going away. CBS is going to get out of this business. They've been getting out of it for the last couple of months, canceling the 12:30 show with Taylor Tomlinson, and now this program as well. It is a sizable shrinking of late night TV as we know it, and a sign that a very signature piece of Americana, late night TV, is having a tough time staying relevant in today's digital world.
Now, CBS is not NBC with the legacy of The Tonight Show and late night. CBS has not been in this area for 60 years, but they've been in it for 30 plus years, and it's shocking to see a network just give up on a franchise. Do you know, was there any discussion of downsizing the show? And was there any discussion of cutting the budget significantly and reimagining the show that would cost less, but still have that presence in late night?
My understanding from talking to people close to Colbert, people close to CBS, is CBS felt they didn't want to take costs out of this program and put it on the air. It wouldn't look like a late night show. They just can't make the numbers work in today's world where young people don't flock to an 11:30 program all at one time. So they felt that to have Colbert take a pay cut, to get rid of his band, to reduce the number of writers on the show, would make it look less like a broadcast-ready late-night program, especially when you have Kimmel and Fallon still going pretty strong.
So we still have one more season of Stephen Colbert. It sure seems like that's going to be hard for CBS to keep that time as a network day part, which sounds so quaint in this area, but all of that time really matters. Who controls that ad time really matters. I got to believe that the affiliates are saying, we'll take that back, thank you very much, and just program news or other things. What prompted the timing? What prompted this to happen on Thursday?
This is a great question, and one I've been putting around. The operating theory by John Q. Public is that Stephen's, anti-Trump humor finally got the people at CBS to shake a hand and rip him off the air.
Coming right after they agreed to write him a $16 million check. The timing of all this, you cannot separate.
And the optics are horrible. They're not great optics for CBS. They just got out of the 60 Minutes thing, bloodied and bruised in the public domain. This happens. But what I am told is actually a business affairs situation in which every year around July, August, the producers and writers on these shows get new 1-year deals that keep them in place for 12 months, August to August. These are going to have to go out very soon. And since CBS had already determined this was going to happen, these deals were going to be like a 10-month or a 9-month deal rather than a 12-month deal. Every agent in town was going to start seeing these contracts and saying, what the? So, I mean, it was going to be getting out very quickly and not through CBS's control.
Variety has been writing weekly, if not daily, that the underpinnings of television are changing dramatically. This is the kind of clear jolt that I think the general public will realize, whoa, it is a changing landscape, and I'm just grateful that we have seasoned writers like you, Brian. You are extremely dedicated to this beat.
I think it's a part of American life that is in flux, and that's kind of a surprise for a lot of people.
Our job is to cover that flux. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up, we hear from Naman Ramachandran, an international reporter for Variety who covers the UK and South Asia. He tells us about the Bollywood movie Saiyaara that has become a massive hit. It brought in $11 million in its opening weekend in India alone. Naman Ramachandran, coming to us from London. Thank you so much for joining me.
Glad to be here.
There's a big hit at the Indian box office right now called Saiyaara, a love story that has apparently turned its young stars into superstars overnight. Tell us about the backstory about this movie that has taken the Bollywood box office by storm.
Saiyaara is from a studio called Yashraj Films. It's a 50-year-old studio, and they are known primarily for two genres. One is the yearning, eternal love story, and the other is their more recent one, which is the like Hollywood has the MCU. You have the spy universe from Yashraj Films. So they are two completely distinct, different genres. Saiyaara is that rarity, a Bollywood love story which is done right. Because since 2019, since post-COVID, I would say, there hasn't been a proper love story in Bollywood, and definitely not one that has worked at the box office.
That is surprising because when people in the US think of Bollywood, we think of love stories and big dance numbers.
Since COVID, the focus has been to bring audiences back into cinemas. That's been the number one focus. We need to take a step back and look at the larger picture of India, which is India is not just Bollywood. Bollywood is only the Hindi language film industry. And as such, it is the third largest film industry in India, the largest being the Telugu language film industry, and the second one being the Tamil language film industry. This is a fairly recent phenomenon, maybe the last decade or so. And the other industries, India makes films in about 20 plus languages. The other industries have been making films across genres. Bollywood post-COVID has been trying to focus on the spectacle film or the event film. Because of that, unfortunately, the love story has had taken a bit of a backseat until Saiyaara.
I want to make sure I understand you right. You're saying that these large markets in two languages that are not Hindi have emerged in the last decade and have overtaken Bollywood films?
Yes, especially since post-COVID. What's happening is because of streaming, India used to be fairly insular markets, with Bollywood being the only unifying factor. As in, you could watch a Bollywood film across the length of and breadth of the country, but a Tamil language film or a Telugu film or a Bengali film would mostly be seen only in their respective markets. But what happened with COVID is that the streamers began dubbing everything into everything. So you could watch a Tamil Netflix show dubbed into Hindi. You could see a Hindi Prime Video show dubbed into Telugu. And because of those 3 years of COVID, the Indian audience got used to watching from across the country in a language of their choice. And what happened because of that is the South Indian markets, the Tamil and Telugu films, they got dubbed into Hindi. And those films became what is known in India as pan-India hits. So if you look at the box office of the last 2 years, the biggest hits in India have been films in Tamil or Telugu dubbed into Hindi and released across the country until 2025, when Bollywood is now slowly back in the ascendant.
That is fascinating. Back to Saiyaara. What was it about this film that caught fire?
One is the audience thirst for a young love story, with a Gen Z love story, if you will. In Bollywood, there haven't been too many. There have been in the other languages, but not in Hindi. And people were, I think, that a bit tired of the star system, and they wanted to see young, fresh faces. And so in Ahan Pandey and Anit Padda, you have this young, fresh on-screen couple. You can see their on-screen chemistry. It's palpable. And secondly, it's the music. The Indian audience anywhere in India, they really want a good musical. As in, people love their music. It doesn't matter which generation you're from. And Saiyaara has a super hit soundtrack. And especially I think the title track before the film release has had 55 million views on YouTube.
You've been writing that the distributor took an unusual approach to promoting the movie in India.
Yes, they adopted the less is more strategy. They let the content do the talking, for want of a better phrase. So they put out the songs, they put out the trailer, which was, a very well cut trailer, and they kept the lead pair fairly quiet, as in it's only the director who spoke to the media, including to Variety. And Anit Padda and Ahan Pandey did not do any promotional appearances. They did not visit malls. They did not visit cinemas. There were no influencer appearances, and they were not all over social media. So there was a thirst for people to know more.
You also been reporting that its box office has broken records, and it's particularly impressive because it's not as wide a release as it could be in India.
In India alone, it's made about $3 million on its opening day. And typically, to get that kind of money, you need to release across at least 18,000 screens. Here, they released in just across 8,000 screens, which means the per screen average is pretty high.
How long does a hit movie stay in theaters in India?
If it's 4 weeks, it's a good run.
I'm guessing that Saraya, which you told me means wandering star in English.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a nice boost to the overall Indian box office. How is overall the Indian box office this year?
So it's been a fairly encouraging box office sign this year, because the numbers just came in a few hours ago. The Indian box office is up 14% year on year. I'm talking about just the Indian box office in India. Because if you include the Indian box office, the collection of Indian films outside of India, then the numbers go up. So right now, for the first 6 months of the year, we are roughly at $665 million US, which is running 14% above 2024 year on year. And from India alone, this number is likely to go up to $1.6 billion US by the end of December. And if you include overseas, obviously, that will go up to roughly about $2 to $3 billion US.
Those are impressive numbers by any measure. Naman, we so appreciate your reporting, telling us all what's going on in this most important market.
Thank you, Cynthia.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. The Venice Film Festival announces its full lineup on Tuesday. We'll have a report in tomorrow's episode from reporter Nick Vivarelli in Rome and international editor Elsa Kislasi in Paris. Of course, Comic-Con San Diego begins this Thursday. We'll have a big contingent down there to cover all the action. And we're hosting a photo and video studio for invited guests. Before we go, congrats to Erin Westerman. She's been promoted to president of Lionsgate Motion Picture Group. She's been with the studio since 2017. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Rebecca Rubin, Brian Steinberg, and Naman Ramachandran. It was edited by Aaron Greenwald. Stick, Snick, Hick, Picks, please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.